Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight now, so good to have you with us on this Tuesday lunchtime hour here on the East Coast. We're broadcasting live, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Hope you all are having a good start to your work week. I'm guessing probably not too many folks are in the midst of a school week anymore, given the time of the year here in the United States, at least. Again, for all of those recent members who have tossed their caps as part of the class of 2025, a big congratulations to you all. And we here at Spaceflight Now wish you the best of luck on your future endeavors, wherever they may take you, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and career-wise, of course. And hope everyone here in the United States had a safe and relaxing and reflective Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. For those who are lucky enough to get a 3-day weekend, hope you're all rejuvenated and ready to tackle whatever the week has ahead of you. Speaking of what's ahead, it is a busy day in spaceflight. Of course, SpaceX is gearing up for a lot of marquee events today, starting things off with the launch of a Falcon 9 rocket carrying the Starlink 17-1 mission, getting ready to lift off from Vandenberg Space Force Base now just shy of 27 minutes from now. The company is currently fueling its Falcon 9 rocket there at Pad 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. On board 24 Starlink V2 mini satellites, heading up to a inclination not often traveled to by Starlink satellites. About a 97-degree inclination for this mission. That's a path not taken by SpaceX and its Starlink constellation since 2023, so interesting moment to mark them adding to or refreshing that part of the Starlink constellation. Talk more about the mission as we roll on through the count, of course, but first off, I want to thank the more than 1,000 of you who are watching with us live today. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button, share the stream, allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage as we roll on through the count. We're, of course, supported by our wonderful channel member community. Among those are our wonderful moderators as well, so big thanks to Clistia Lee, Jeff Hansen, and just scrolling to see if any of the other mods are here. Not seeing any at the moment, but oh, I'm sorry, Rick Donner is also here. My apologies, Rick. Glad to have all three of you on board this morning. You can help the mods keep the live chat kosher just by following the rules of the chat, by not typing in all caps, by communicating in English so that our mods can respond appropriately. We also ask that you refrain from delving into overt politics and religion, and, last but not least, treat each other with the kindness and respect that you would like to be treated with. We're, of course, powered by a wonderful channel member community here on YouTube who make these live launch opportunities possible. So, big thanks to folks like Michelle Penland, Cumulus Granatus, I Am Lita, Butterfly, Sulfur for Lunch, Lily, Mark Potachnik, and many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, that is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and, of course, the ability to watch all of our live launch left-off moments from here in Florida in 4K. Working behind the scenes, our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, who is running the technical operations of the broadcast. Later on today, we'll be joined by our streaming partners and friends over at Lab Padre as we're preparing for Flight 9 of the Starship program using the fully integrated launch vehicle, standing a staggering more than 400 feet tall in height. Taking a look now at Starbase live there in southern Texas. Not just the name of SpaceX's operations anymore, but now an official city in the Lone Star State. A number of cars still at the pad at the moment as teams are wrapping up and getting ready to clear out a little bit later on in the afternoon in preparation for Flight 9 of the ship that you see there. Ship 35 up top, Booster 14 down below, B-14 making its second flight as part of the Starship program. It will not be recovered today. There are no plans to try and catch the Super Heavy booster with the chopstick arms that you're currently seeing right now on either side of Ship 35. Rather, there will be a propulsive splashdown in the Gulf, little ways into the mission. Obviously, we'll have much, much more to talk about with the Starship flight coming up during our full broadcast coverage of that mission. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Click that bell icon so you're notified when we do get our coverage started, again, in partnership with Lab Padre. We've also got some special guests that are coming aboard for conversations and discussions about the evolution of the Starship program, as well as what we're expecting with Flight 9, the possibilities and the potential pitfalls that SpaceX is trying to work around, and what it all means to all the folks that have a stake in Starship's success. So we hope to see you right back here on the YouTube channel for our full coverage of Starship Flight 9. And the run-up to that, though, down here at Starbase, we are anticipating a presentation, a company talk hosted by SpaceX founder Elon Musk, potentially some others, but principally from him. The topic of discussion called The Road to Making Life Multiplanetary. For anyone familiar with SpaceX and its ambitions, obviously this has been a key feature and a calling card for the company since its earliest days. Starship rocket, the crown jewel of making that happen for the company. Musk is expected to discuss the progress that has been made for the Starship program so far and what is the company goals for the next upcoming years. Some eagle-eyed viewers happen to take a close look at, as is typically the case, all of the things surrounding the Starship program, and happen to spot that the source code for this live stream is titled Mars 2026 Company Talk. So infer from that what you will. Musk has also made similar comments on X, formerly Twitter, in which he has suggested that the company has ambitions to launch uncrewed Starship missions to the Red Planet as soon as the end of 2026, trying to hit that planetary window of opportunity. So some big goals for the company to try to make an uncrewed landing attempt on Mars. Obviously, NASA is keenly watching the Starship program for looping it in for the Artemis program, since it is still the human landing system that will be used on the Artemis 3 mission, currently targeting a human landing on the moon in mid-2027. Again, we'll have more to say on the Starship program during our full live coverage, but looking forward to that talk, which will be coming up shortly after this Starlink 17-1 mission. So let's bring things back to Vandenberg and focus on what we've got ahead of us now in the upcoming flight of this Falcon 9 rocket. Current launch time, you see there on your screen, 9:57 a.m. Pacific, 12:57 p.m. Eastern, 16:57 UTC for our friends around the world. Just about 19 minutes to go before the flight of this Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 4 East. Let's go ahead and talk about the countdown timeline, the series of events that we're looking forward to coming up ahead of a good launch of this rocket. Of course, SpaceX, at the 18 and nearly 18 and a half minute mark has gone through a number of these milestones, so we'll step lively through where we've been and get you to where we're going. At the roughly T-minus 38 minute mark is when the SpaceX launch director made the call on the start of prop load. Fueling of the Falcon 9 began at the T-minus 35 minute mark with the loading of RP-1, a rocket-grade kerosene on board the Falcon 9's first and second stages. At the same time, liquid oxygen began flowing on board the Falcon 9's first stage. T-minus 30 minutes, they started loading cryogenic helium into the pressure vessels on the first stage. Helium was used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. Same began on the second stage, about 5 minutes thereafter. T-minus 23 minutes, second stage RP-1 loading wrapped up. And at T-minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds is when the strong back chill-down process began. It's when SpaceX is thermally conditioning the feed lines there at the pad ahead of second stage liquid oxygen load. Had we eyes on the Falcon 9, at this point in the count, we would be seeing the now final minute of the so-called big vent. Set to wrap up in just about a minute from where we are right now in real time. Ahead of second stage lock load starting at the T-minus 16 minute mark. Moving right along, T-minus 7 minutes, our next big milestone coming up after the start of lock load on the second stage. Will be the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines. That's when SpaceX flows a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during the startup sequence. 6 minutes out, the first stage kerosene tank is full. Then at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the strong back retract sequence get underway. It starts with the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings opening up, and then the transporter erector, with the strong back, will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket and stay in that position until liftoff. Up to and through liftoff here at Vandenberg, as a matter of fact. T-minus 3 minutes, the first stage liquid oxygen tank is full. Same is true on the second stage, about a minute afterwards, at which point the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, as we hear the call that the Falcon 9 is in startup, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. SpaceX launch director will give their go for launch 45 seconds ahead of flight. The engine ignition command is issued at T-minus 3 seconds, and if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite as expected, the command will be given for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. Once again, coming up in just about 15.5 minutes, or 9:57 a.m. Pacific, 12:57 p.m. Eastern, 16:57 UTC. For those of you who are in the vicinity of Vandenberg Space Force Base or in the southwest United States, hoping to see a good flight of the rocket, well, don't bank on it. Not today. You can see some of the cloud cover, some pretty thick cloud cover that is coating the coast of California pretty much all along the California coastline there. A couple spots of respite, but unfortunately not where we need it to be for a good visible launch. We'll see once we've got ground level views of the Falcon 9 from the SpaceX pad level cameras, whether that means there's also some stereotypical Vandenberg fog hanging around, or if we've got good eyes on the rocket itself. But Steven nodding off camera, saying that there is going to be some fog there at the pad. So not the most picturesque launch that we've got today, but hopefully we'll make up for that later on today with the launch of Starship. SpaceX's first stage booster that is supporting today's launch is tail number B1082, which will be making its 13th flight so far. No movement, therefore, on the list of Falcon 9 frequent flyers. Just giving a brief overview of the updated list from the recent flight of B1069, now tied for third place with B1071. Again, we're going to be watching for the upcoming launches of near-term Falcon 9 rockets to see if we've got a couple others that are going to be creeping up to tie with B-1076. Right now, B-1077 and B-1078 have 20 flights apiece, so could be looking potentially, depending on the reuse opportunities for these and when B-1076 is going to fly next, for a three-way tie. That said, the last time B-1076 launched was back on February 21st of this year, so it has had the most respite from flight and likely won't allow for the other two to creep up into that tie-making position. Here's where SpaceX is right now on launches with its Falcon family of rockets. 62 on the year so far, looking for flight number 63 coming up in just shy of 13 minutes from now. Taking a look at our live chat here, I want to thank Marcel Lundy for joining us with channel membership at the Pad Leader level. Welcome aboard, Marcel. We're glad to have you with us. Also, if you have other comments or questions about this mission or other goings-on in the realm of space and spaceflight, feel free to use the YouTube Super Chat feature to elevate your comments. Not only will you be giving us some interesting things to talk about as we cruise on through the count, but you'll be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now, and that, my friends, is always greatly appreciated. Taking a look now at where this Falcon 9 is going to be flying, let's talk a little trajectory, shall we? Falcon 9 rocket once it lifts up. Alrighty, now that we've gotten a couple of tech gremlins out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about that teased trajectory. Falcon 9 rocket going to be flying in a southwesterly trajectory today, not southeast along the California-Mexico coast, but rather moving away from the Golden State once it lifts off from Space Launch Complex 4 East. Flying along that green arc there with the first stage booster, B-1082, targeting a touchdown on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, stationed downrange. SpaceX is going to be targeting that landing, which would make it the 132nd successful booster landing, if all goes well, on that drone ship. It would also be SpaceX's 452nd booster landing to date. Again, for those who are just joining us, it's been some time since SpaceX flew a polar orbit mission. 2023 was the last time. The majority of its flights sending Starlink satellites to polar orbits have been as part of Group 3. Those were Starlinks 3-1 through 3-5, launching from July 11th of 2022. Last of those, April 27th of 2023. There were also a handful of Starlink satellites that flew aboard the original Transporter missions. Transporter 1 in January of 2021 and Transporter 2 in June of that year. Those flew it to a 97.5 degree inclination. The dedicated Starlink missions were a 97.6 degree inclination. SpaceX, of course, wanting to recover both its first stage booster as well as its payload fairings, which, following fairing separation, about 3 minutes into the flight, will be coming back through the atmosphere and then making their final descent under the support of steerable parachutes. They'll splash down into the Pacific Ocean water where they will be scooped up by SpaceX, brought back in through the port, and then turn around for future missions after being refurbished. Given SpaceX's path to Mars going through the Starship program, may or may not hear anything about Falcon and its various pieces and parts during Musk's talk later on today, so we will keenly keep our eyes and ears peeled for any updates for this part of the business as they discuss their goals of making life multiplanetary. Just about 8 minutes to go before the launch of this Falcon 9 rocket. Let's talk about the payload on board, those 24 Starlink satellites. Today will be the 46th Starlink mission of the year so far. Assuming this is a fully dedicated Starlink flight and that there aren't any Starshield satellites hitching a ride, this will be the 45th dedicated Starlink launch of the year. SpaceX began flying its V2 Mini optimized Starlink satellites last year, introduced them last year at least. The lighter version of these V2 Minis weighs about 1,267 pounds, about 575 kilograms, considerably lighter than their previous Starlink V2 Mini cousins. With their solar panels unfurled, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. Still use those Argon Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering. They're built in Redmond, Washington, which is near Seattle. And today they'll be deployed at about 350 miles or 560 kilometers in altitude at a 97-degree inclination. Here's a glimpse at what those V2 Minis look like in their on-orbit configuration connected by the laser mesh. Coming up on the 5-minute mark ahead of the launch of the Starlink 17-1 mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Should be getting pad-level views of the Falcon 9 rocket for whatever that's going to be worth today, given the cloud cover and the fog hanging around here.
Tank suppressing for strong back retract.
And as you just heard and can see now, we've got actually not too horrible a view as the Falcon 9 rocket right now. Obviously, those thick clouds that are hanging around and going to obscure the view for folks that are wanting to see it from elsewhere.
Strong back retract has started.
I rest my case. This is not a Chamber of Commerce kind of a day, but with that call out for a strong back retract, the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings are going to be opening up, and the transporter erector will pull back about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket, stay in that position until liftoff. Strong back is the large metal structure to the right of the Falcon 9 from this vantage point. You can see it reclining just now. Coming up next, we expect to hear a call out from SpaceX regarding the conclusion of first stage liquid oxygen load. Should be coming up right about the 3-minute mark, so in roughly 30 seconds.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
As you just heard, Stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're awaiting a similar call now on Stage 2, which should happen right about at the 2-minute mark. Now just under 2 minutes.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
With that call, the Falcon 9 rocket is now fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. Shortly, SpaceX will begin the ground gas closeouts, which will be quite difficult to discern
ground gas closeouts
from the rest of the fog and obfuscation there at the pad. But with that good call out, we are just about a minute away from the flight of this Falcon 9 rocket. Actually, that's a pretty good view of the ground gas closeouts there. Once we hit that minute mark, we'll hear a call that the Falcon 9 is in startup.
F9 is in startup.
Now control the countdown, handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. Tank spring brought up to flight pressure. Shortly we'll hear the go for launch from the SpaceX launch director.
LD is go for launch.
And with that good go ahead, we are going to go ahead and step back on our commentary and be back with you on the other side of liftoff as we listen into the final 30 seconds ahead of Starlink 17-1.
T minus 30 seconds. T minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Power and telemetry nominal.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And a good, albeit cloudy, liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket. So you just heard it traveling faster than the speed of sound, now approaching max Q, with a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure. The vehicle will
Max Q.
Good call there. Falcon 9 throttling down to pass through max Q. It'll be throttling back up.
MVAC chill has started.
That call you just heard, they're thermally conditioning the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage ahead of its first ignition. Really nice view of the California and eventually Mexican coastline there. We're coming up on a few different events in fairly rapid succession here. We'll see first stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about T plus 2 minutes and 26 seconds. That'll be followed by stage separation 4 seconds later. Then the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine, about T plus 2 minutes 36 seconds. The payload fairings will separate just before the 3-minute mark. About 5 seconds to MECO.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC startup.
And good callouts, good visuals from the SpaceX onboard cameras. Working to sort through a technical glitch coming from SpaceX's end through their stream. Stand by.
MVAC startup.
And a good view of those Starlink satellites following payload fairing deployment. Apologies for the disruption. That one was out of our hands, unfortunately.
Vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Again, we're working through some technical challenges that are beyond our control, but we're trying to make things as smooth as possible for you guys. Again, the X stream is providing a lot of challenges for us today. We're trying to work through them as quickly and as seamlessly as we possibly can, but it is proving quite elusive, potentially, as SpaceX is trying to also spin up the Starship talk at the same time. Standing by, we're working to get this back for you guys. Apologies for the disruption. We're coming up on 6 minutes into flight, though, so at this point, the first stage entry burn is getting ready to begin here in about the next 10 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
The entry burn using 3 of the 9 Merlin engines at the base. The booster lasts about 21 seconds today in total. Setting up the start of the first stage landing burn, which is set to begin at about T plus 7 minutes and 53 seconds. Again, the X platform is having some quite serious issues with keeping up with this stream today, so we're trying to make some adjustments as best we can, and we'll have the stream back up for you momentarily. Again, we are unfortunately limited with how much we can manage these technical glitches.
Vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Again, we're seeing the stream bounce back and forwards from different points in the launch, and we're trying to find the best ways to manage this. As you can see, there's quite a bit of issue happening from the X side of the equation. Landing burn did occur, as you saw there momentarily. See if I can bring in a more fluid version of that event, although we're unfortunately, X has been struggling mightily and was not able to provide a clean and continuous feed of this launch of the Falcon 9 rocket, but did see some glimpses there of the landing burn on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. That came ahead of the cutoff of the Merlin vacuum engine, which happened at about T plus 8 minutes and 42 seconds. That puts the upper stage into a coast phase, which will last until about T plus 54 minutes and 6 seconds. There will be a 2-second burn on the upper stage engine, and the Starlink satellites are set to deploy about 1 hour and 3 minutes post liftoff. Again, our sincerest apologies for not being able to show entirely fluid stream. The problems on X were quite staunch and unable to be overcome. Well, with this liftoff and landing behind us now, I want to briefly thank I'm Lita for a $5 super chat, who says thanks to Spaceflight Alpha for bringing us launches, info, and friends. Again, apologies with the technical issues that were demonstrably out of our control today. Also want to thank Chuck Close for a very generous $25 super chat. Thank you, Chuck, for supporting our coverage today. Turning to our mission stats, and as we do, want to remind you that the Musk company talk is coming up. That has been punted back first to 1 o'clock, then 1:10. Now currently aiming to begin at 1:15. We will be streaming that over at Launchpad Live, and hopefully getting past this launch and the frankly abysmal streaming performance from SpaceX and the X account there. Hopefully they will be able to get things working more smoothly with the upcoming talk at 1:15. Again, we'll have that for you on our 24-hour streaming part of the YouTube channel, Launchpad Live. So I'll pop back over there once we're wrapped up here. Moving through our mission stats, this was the 13th flight of Falcon 9 Booster 1082. That marked the 480th Falcon 9 launch to date. This was the 63rd flight of a Falcon 9 in 2023, the 143rd orbital launch within the last 365 days. This was the 127th orbital launch for SpaceX from Space Launch Complex 4 East, and the 195th overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Here's where the bar chart now stands with Falcon launches so far. Moving on to some recovery stats. SpaceX had the 132nd landing, appeared to be successfully on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. That marked the 363rd SpaceX drone ship landing and the 452nd Falcon booster landing to date. Finally, with some industry stats, this was the 22nd orbital launch from California so far this year, the 67th from U.S. soil, the 73rd from U.S. Rocket Company, and the 115th orbital launch attempt around the globe. 3 launch failures so far on the year. Here's where our pie chart now currently stands. Just past 13 minutes. And we do actually have an update on the talk. Apparently Elon Musk, as I was talking, posted on X that his company talk has been put on pause until after the completion of the Starlink mission. Oh, I'm sorry, it's postponed until after Starship Flight 9 tonight. So going to be a quite late evening for us. So unfortunately, no update from SpaceX with that company talk until after Flight 9. And we'll, of course, have coverage of that here for you at Spaceflight Now. I want to thank our editor, Stephen Young, for trying to wrangle the stream as was best possible, given the very trying circumstances. Thanks to channel member L. Ritchie for $10 super chat and some very nice words saying, of course you still love Spaceflight Now. Nice little play on words there. Appreciate that. Thanks to all of you who are with us today. Big thanks to our moderators for helping to manage the live chat, to Rick Donner and Callistia Lee. Jeff Hansen, appreciate all of you for helping us out today. Most importantly, thanks to you for being here with us for our coverage, and we hope you come back for our live coverage of Starship Flight 9, which, of course, is going to be targeting a liftoff this evening. Right now, looking at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central is when the current T0 is planned, although SpaceX does have an hour launch window to play with down there at Starbase. Our live coverage will be starting a couple of hours ahead of the planned T0, so looking forward to our coverage in partnership with Lab Padre and some special guests joining us beginning at 5:30 tonight. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others, and we will see you very soon, my friends. And until then, bye-bye.